leader. Now, that's some political analysts here in Bahrain say that's really far-fetched, and the main reason for that is that just next door to Bahrain, of course, is Saudi Arabia. In recent days, Saudi Arabia has seen Shiite protests of its own, and it's very worried about what's happening here. So the leaders of Saudi Arabia will no doubt be talking to Washington on a very regular basis, saying, hang on a minute, you can't just let the whole region repeat what happened in Egypt. So a lot of people here are saying, well, at the very best, what the protesters might achieve is some move towards constitutional monarchy, David.
Thank you very much indeed. Hamid Karzai, the Afghan president, has told the US that apologies for civilian deaths in his country are no longer acceptable. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of Kabul to demonstrate against US military operations. Last week, Karzai warned Obama that civilian casualties were a serious problem. The number of civilian deaths has jumped in the past year as insurgents increasingly attack what are known as soft targets. On a roadside bomb in that country has killed 12 civilians near the Afghan border with Pakistan. It was in the eastern Paktia province. Another 5 people were wounded when the bomb exploded next to a truck packed with people. Reports suggest the dead included 2 children, 5 men and 5 women. We're going to return to events in Libya, and you may remember me saying a short while ago that a number of British special forces, it was thought, had been taken by rebels in eastern Libya. The claim from the Reuters news agency was at least 4. From one of the London Sunday newspapers, it was that 8 special forces, members of the special forces, had been taken because they were trying to introduce a diplomat, a British diplomat, to the rebels there, but the rebels have taken exception to this. Now, I'll give you the background because we're going to talk to Hoda Abdel Hamid, our correspondent in Benghazi, and there's a development to this. Hoda, what have you heard? Hoda, it's David Foster in the studio here. There's been a development to this story about the British special forces who had been taken by the rebels in eastern Libya. No, we've lost her. All right, well, let me tell you what I've heard, because we were trying to communicate with Hoda a short while ago, and we got some information for her before we tried to put her on the line. We have heard that those special forces, whether it be 4 or 8 members of what's thought to be an SAS regiment, halfway through that, I'm told she's back on the line. So, Hoda, bring us up to date.
Well, what I can say that I've seen these 8 British National Board, British Navy ship, the Cumberland, and it has left about 10 minutes ago the shores of Benghazi. Now, I have also seen an official letter by the British Foreign Office saying that these 8 men were part of a diplomatic mission that had come here to Benghazi to establish contact with the newly formed Opposition National Council, and that team was headed by an honorary consul. Now, we're also hearing a different version from the Libyan side. They say that these guys were not held in Benghazi, but in another small town around it. We should be hearing more details about that in the next half hour or so, as officials say they will give us more details about it. But I do think that they were quickly released because the newly formed opposition council did not want, is at the moment trying to establish contact with the international community, and at this stage did not want any sort of problems already.
Get back to where they're going in just a minute, Hoda, but I want to ask you first of all, I was listening to William Hague, the British Foreign Minister, a short while ago, saying that these people were in fact part of a diplomatic mission, which is what you've been told there. Does that mean that they were diplomats, or were they soldiers?
Well, from what we understand, one of them was a diplomat, and the rest were special forces, the security details. Now, the Libyan authorities here say that they caught with them a lot of equipment, maps, computers, other kind of devices that they say they will show pictures of in the near future. So certainly 7 of them would have been special forces, or certainly the security detail of this one diplomatic person.
So in effect, what we've got here are British soldiers on foreign soil carrying out whatever kind of mission without the permission either of those in control of that part of Libya or the other parts of the country. This is still very embarrassing for the British, isn't it?
I think it's very embarrassing for the British. It's very also embarrassing for the Libyans here. There's a lot of suspicion. If you ask people here, they will tell you that these were special forces on a secret mission, that there was no diplomatic mission whatsoever involved. And that's very difficult to prove at this particular stage. We're hoping to find some more information. What is also very strange is that this British Navy has quickly arrived here, picked them up, and left immediately after. I mean, I really saw them boarding, and within 10 minutes it had left.
Any idea where they're going, Hoda?
I tried to get that piece of information. They would not tell me. I do think that probably they would be heading towards Malta as a first stop, but the soldiers would not tell me.
That's Hoda Abdulhamid there with the exclusive news that 8 members of a British mission which came to Libya ostensibly to talk to the opposition. They're believed to contain a number, if not 7 members of the special forces, have now left Libya aboard a British vessel, the HMS Cumberland, and have now sailed away from Libyan shores. Thousands of people took to the streets of Lebanon's capital on Sunday, marching in Beirut and calling for an end to the country's sectarian political system. Protesters argue that the system, which splits the roles of President, Prime Minister and Parliamentary Speaker between a Christian, Sunni and Shia Muslim, isn't fair. They're calling instead for a secular government. Egyptian state television is reporting that Nabil El Arabi has been appointed as the country's new foreign minister, part of a cabinet reshuffle there, another one. El Arabi is a former judge at the International Court of Justice and was a permanent representative to the United Nations. His appointment is the latest move to purge the cabinet of former allies of President Hosni Mubarak. Ayman Mohyeddin's in Cairo. Let's talk to him and find out a little bit more about this man. Presumably somebody you already knew of, Ayman, but a surprise perhaps that he's gone for this job?
Well, you know, certainly, indeed, it is a bit of a surprise because earlier in the week there were rumors that he was going to be tapped as the next Secretary General of the League of Arab States. Now, he is, as you mentioned, a very widely respected international jurist. He has been a career diplomat. He is 75 years old and certainly very well respected for his judicial acumen, if you will. But the surprise really has been is that he is now tapped to be Egypt's next foreign minister after he was slated to be the Secretary General to replace the outgoing Amr Moussa, scheduled to end his term at the end of March. So there is no doubt that Assam Sharaf, the new Prime Minister, is tapping into a very experienced and well-respected international figure. He does have a judicial background, having studied both in the United States and here in Cairo, and he's very well respected in Egypt for perhaps one of the most important legal cases that Egypt has ever battled, if you will, in the international court, and that was reclaiming the city of Taba in the Sinai Peninsula from Israel after it withdrew, ending its occupation in 1982.
Just a very quick thought.